What kind of person calls 911 over a gate on someone's own land? That's the question I was asking myself, wrench in hand, sweat dripping down my neck, as I tightened the last bolt on my new security gate. The sun was dipping low, painting the hills around my property in gold, when a beat-up red SUV screamed down the gravel road, kicking up a dust cloud that choked the air. Out jumped Linda, all decked out in hiking gear, bright pink leggings, a fanny pack stuffed to bursting, and a glare that could have melted steel. She stormed toward my gate, face red as a beet, panting like she'd run a marathon. Before I could even say a word, she whipped out her phone, hands shaking, and yelled, "You're on camera, buddy! You're blocking a historic public trail!" Her voice was half-crazed, teetering on the edge of a meltdown. I stood there, boots planted in the dirt, trying not to laugh as she dialed 911 and screeched, "I'm reporting a man for trapping hikers. He's holding people hostage on a public trail." It was ridiculous until it wasn't. Within minutes, sheriff's cruisers roared up, lights flashing, sirens wailing, and Linda was flailing her arms like she was directing traffic at a disaster zone. My quiet Saturday was officially shot. The deputies barely had their seatbelts off before Linda sprinted over, while VYing her hands like a madwoman. "He's blocking the historic trail!" she shrieked, pointing at my gate like it was a crime scene. "People are stuck back there, no water, no food. He's a monster!" Her story was so wild, the younger deputy squinted like he was trying to make sense of a bad movie. I strolled over, wiping my hands on a rag, and gestured to the 6 bright yellow, "Private property" signs bolted to my fence. The older deputy, Hawkins, gave me a long look, then turned to Linda. "Ma'am, can you show us this public trail?" he asked, his voice slow and careful, like he was defusing a bomb. Linda puffed up, marched to the gate, and in a move straight out of a comedy grabbed the lock, yanked it hard, slipped, and tumbled backward into a bush, one sneaker flying through the air. Time stopped. The younger deputy coughed, barely hiding a laugh, as Linda flailed in the dirt, 1 foot bare. Undeterred, she scrambled up and launched into a rant about the people's land, claiming her cousin's neighbor's dog Walker hiked here back in the 80s. I blinked, wondering how her brain worked. The deputies, stone-faced, asked for my proof. I grabbed a folder from my truck deeds, county records, a surveyor's report, all notarized and laminated. I'd learned long ago never to underestimate people like Linda. Hawkins skimmed the papers, then turned to her. "Ma'am, this is private land. There's no public trail here. You need to leave." Linda's face went purple, steam practically pouring from her ears. "I'll have your badge," she screamed. "I know the mayor." Hawkins shrugged. "Unless the mayor changes property law, you're trespassing." Linda switched tactics, snapping photos of my gate, my truck, even the deputies, muttering about the Historical Society and the news. She limped to her SUV, slammed the door, and peeled out, Leah VYing her lone sneaker in a cloud of dust. I thought that might be the end of it, but my gut told me otherwise. Linda wasn't the type to quit. By evening, flyers were plastered all over town. "Save our trail!" they screamed, with a photoshopped image of me looking like a cartoon VY Lane. They claimed I was jailing hikers, erasing history, stealing public land. It was laughable, except Linda was dead serious. I sat on my porch, sipping iced tea, watching the sunset over my land. The gate was my line in the sand, and Linda had declared war. She had no clue how airtight my rights were, how every document was bulletproof, or that my security cameras had caught her 911 stunt and her epic fall. As crickets chirped, I grinned. If she thought the gate was trouble, she was in for a rude awakening. By Monday, Linda's scheming had gone next level. Neon flyers were taped to my mailbox, my fence posts, even the gas station bulletin board, ranting about an EVYL land baron, caging families behind steel. A creepy drone photo of my property taken without my consent made my skin crawl. I peeled the flyer off my windshield, shaking my head. Linda thought lies and clip art would break me. She was wrong. That afternoon, shouts echoed from my back property. I strolled down, phone in hand, and found Linda with a ragtag crew bored teens, a guy with a megaphone yelling nonsense, balloons tied to my fence. Posters covered my gate, and a wobbly petition table stood nearby. Linda spotted me and pointed. "There he is!" she bellowed, like I was a wanted criminal. The crowd half-heartedly waved fists. I leaned against a post, waiting. "We demand you open the trail!" Linda waved a clipboard like a sword. I asked for proof it was public. She stammered, then spewed gibberish about common law access and historical tradition, tossing in fake legal terms. When I asked for a lawyer or city backing, she bragged about city hall connections. I nodded, faking awe, then said, "Unless you've got a court order, you're trespassing." Her face twisted. She started filming herself, narrating like she was in a war zone. I pulled out my phone, showing a cease and desist email from my lawyer citing her illegal drone shots and defamation. "You've got 24 hours to pull every flyer, retract your lies, and apologize, or I'll sue you into next year." Linda gaped like a fish. Her crowd muttered, sensing trouble. The smarter ones grabbed their signs and slipped away. Linda melted down, screaming about suing me, the governor, the Supreme Court. I walked off, whistling, her voice fading behind me. By morning, most flyers were gone. Linda probably spent a miserable night scrubbing them down. I hoped she'd quit, but I'd misjudged her. Days later, I woke to honking and chants. From my porch, I saw Linda with 20 protesters' signs reading, "Free the path." Lawn chairs, even a guy grilling hot dogs like it was a tailgate. Linda grabbed a megaphone. "This man holds our community hostage. We won't leave until justice is served." She shoved it toward me. "What do you say, oppressor?" I grinned, recording. "Smile, Linda." After an hour of their shouting, I called the sheriff. The dispatcher, already familiar with Linda's antics, sent deputies fast. They rolled up, sized up the circus, and gave Linda a choice: disperse or face trespassing charges. Her followers, sunburned and bored, realized they were on private land for nothing. They packed up, leaving Linda alone, kicking a cooler in rage, muttering about lawsuits. I waved as she stormed off, thanking the deputies. The trail was quiet again, but I knew Linda. She'd try again, and her next move would be dumber. Days passed, too calm. Linda's silence meant she was plotting something reckless. Late one night, my security system pinged. I checked the feed, jaw tightening. There was Linda, with 2 lackeys, creeping around my back gate with flashlights and bolt cutters. They fumbled like bad spies, whispering as Linda hacked at the chain. I leaned back, sipping a soda, ready for the show. As her cutter snapped the chain, floodlights blazed, alarms wailed, and a robotic voice boomed. "You're being recorded. Police are on the way." Linda shrieked, dropping the cutters. One lackey tripped into thistles, another froze, flashlight blinding himself. I grinned as cruisers roared up. Deputies spilled out, barking orders. Linda sobbed, claiming she was saving the trail. Her friends blamed each other, swearing they were just along for the ride. Linda, never learning, ranted about constitutional rights, misquoting amendments. Deputies cuffed her, telling her to shut up. Her crew was cuffed too, their bravado gone. At the station, Linda demanded the chief, the mayor, the governor, calling her act a stand against crimes against humanity. Deputies, unfazed, booked her for trespassing, vandalism, and tampering. Her friends bailed out fast, leaving her to stew. By morning, the town was buzzing. Diners laughed over Linda's trail heist. Hashtags like the Gatebuster trended with memes of her as a bolt-cutter-wielding bandit. I stayed quiet, letting her implode. My lawyer prepped charges for property damage and harassment, plus a restraining order to keep Linda far from my land. She held a pitiful press conference, ranting about oppression to bored reporters. A deputy casually held my deed for cameras, undermining her. News clips showed her arrest, not her speech, with my land records stealing the spotlight. The city rejected her demand to demolish my gate, warning her of legal costs for frivolous claims. I framed their letter beside my deed. Linda's life unraveled. The Historical Society kicked her out. Shops refused her business. Her rants grew wilder, alienating her last allies. I tightened security, adding cameras, and savored the calm. The court date loomed, and I prepped meticulously deeds, surveys, permits, footage of Linda's crimes, her illegal drone shots. Linda, meanwhile, posted unhinged screeds online, her Save Our Trail fundraiser flopping. At the hearing, I arrived sharp and calm. Linda stormed in late, wearing a Justice for Trails shirt and muddy boots, clutching a folder, her dwindled posse trailing. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, demanded EVY Denke. My lawyer presented a fortress of proof deeds, records, VY Deos, photos. Linda offered a tearful speech about ancestral paths and greed, with no documents, just blurry photos. The judge grilled her, and Linda floundered exposed. My lawyer sought damages for the gate, legal fees, and a permanent restraining order. Linda objected, claiming CIVYL liberties, but the judge snapped. Trespassing isn't a right. She warned Linda her drone stunts and defamation opened her to more suits. The ruling was brutal: fines for trespassing, restitution for damages, a 500-foot restraining order, and 30 days to retract her lies. Linda froze, fists clenched, as her allies slunk out. Outside, she ranted to cameras about corruption, tears streaking her face. I declined comment and drove off. News headlines buried her. Landowner triumphs, trail lies debunked. Her meltdown clips went viral. The town was done with her. Linda's world collapsed. She was banned from local groups, shunned by stores, her posts ignored. She moved away, a pariah. I added a wrought iron sign to my gate. Private trail, protected by law and logic. Trespassers live streamed for amusement. It became a local attraction, snapped by passers-by, featured on blogs. Neighbors praised my stand, inviting me to barbecues. The trail was mine, peaceful again. One evening, on my porch with coffee, I watched the sunset, the hills glowing. Linda's chaos had tested me, but I'd held firm with truth, not tantrums. She tried to steal my peace and lost everything. My land, my gate, my quiet stood strong, era testament that right, like a good gate, doesn't budge.